Yeah, sorry, my bad. I didn't see mute. Just yeah, we'll start over. Right. Good morning, everyone. In our session today, we'll try to understand a better uh, view of what exactly is velocity and what we get from velocity, and what are the things we can do using velocity and other things. Right. So this will be our agenda today, like understanding what is velocity and how it works, and there is a specific concept called industry clouds in velocity. So we'll try to get a better view of it, and we'll try to see what are the advantages of using velocity and understanding certain velocity components. And we do have sales, just like how we have Salesforce success community. We do have velocity success community and velocity university and other things. Yeah, we'll try to get a better view of all of these things. Right, right. And just like in not specific to Salesforce, but usually any cloud platform, right? It could be Salesforce or it could be AWS or whatever it is, right? Usually we get three different kinds of services provided by all these cloud platforms, right? The first one is IaaS, which is the top layer of any multi-tenant architecture, right? It's not specific to Salesforce. So in this top layer, we usually get all these physical, places like storage, servers, network, all these things, right? This is the top layer, and where we only get this physical structures, right? And uh, in the next layer, we do have something called PaaS, right? Which is called a platform as a service, right? This is nothing but uh, Salesforce or Salesforce provides you a particular platform, and on top of that, they can build a specific platform, and which in turn can be used by the developers to build an application, right? Examples of these will be uh, Viva, CRM, Velocity, Tableau, CPQ, all of these. They use Salesforce and they build a platform on top of it. Right? That's what we call it as PaaS and platform as a service. Right? They use all of the, you know, all of these things provided in uh, IaaS by Salesforce, right? They use this storage, they use the servers, they use the network of Salesforce, and they build a platform using that, right? So that is called platform as a service, and examples of that will be Viva, Velocity, Tableau, and all. And finally, we have something called SaaS, which is nothing but software as a service. It's like using any cloud platform, you build an application and provide it to the end customer, so that they don't have to install any kind of software in their system. They can directly, if they have a browser and they have internet connection, they can start using your application by providing a username and password, right? That's usually what happens whenever you as a developer build any application in Salesforce, right? We build a CRM application, and any of those users who have access to your org would be able to log in and would be able to uh, execute all these kinds of logics, maybe which you would have developed as a developer, right? But here, what we have to understand is velocity is something which uses Salesforce uh, platform, like all these storage servers and network, and they provide us a platform to build an application instead of directly building a software in a Salesforce, right? These people, Velocity or Viva or Tableau, these guys provide us a platform which to using which you can build a application, right? So yeah, the better examples of platform as a service is all these Viva CRM, Velocity, Tableau, CPQ, and there are so many others, right? For example, let's talk about Viva CRM. It's specific to pharma industry, right? And they deal in that Viva CRM. They deal everything related to pharma industry there, right? So the way you any company, any pharmaceutical company like Pfizer or Novartis, all these companies, the way they buy a drug, I mean, the way they create a drug and the way they get it into the market and they deploy it in the market, right? That whole process will be taken care by Viva CRM. They have built a particular application on top of Salesforce, right? So we can use that application and we can develop a software on top of it, right? So that particular layer is called platform as a service, and Velocity here is using that as a service of Salesforce, right? Uh, for example, uh, we as the developers mostly worry about SaaS capability of Salesforce, right? When I say SaaS capability, it's basically we are going to use Salesforce as like the system, and we build an application and we provide it to a customer, right? So that's what is called a SaaS capability. But Velocity here using PaaS capability of a Salesforce, and they are providing us the platform to build any software on top of that, right? So yeah, what exactly is Velocity? I mean, how they are built, how they have built it, and uh, what are the specific industry specific clouds they are building, and how does it work, right? For example, as I as we discussed, uh, Velocity is nothing but a platform that is being provided, right, as a package, right? You can see. So what these guys do is, let's take since during it's a pandemic time and we all know what is happening around the world, we'll consider that example itself, right? For example, Pfizer has produced a drug, and that is being sold as a vaccine around the world, right? So usually any pharma company that produces a drug and deploys it into the market, they actually go through a lot of process in the background, right? For example, these Pfizer or Novartis, or in India we have this Reddy's laboratory and all, right? The first BioNTech and Serum Institute of India, all these. First of all, whenever the drug is being created, right? They go through certain stages of clinical trial, like stage one, stage two, stage three, and all. And if it passes everything, then they create that drug and deploy it into the market for testing purpose. And if it doesn't give any other chemical reactions, side effects to the end customers, right? They start deploying it into the markets. And how do they do that? Is like, since it is pandemic time now, everything happened so fast. But usually it would be like a customer, these Pfizer or Novartis, all these pharma companies usually would have sales representatives, right? They will go to each of these doctors or pharmaceutical companies, or they go to these hospitals. I mean, unlike in India, outside Asia, it's basically a little different, right? You cannot get any drug without a prescription, right? So unless or until you have a doctor's prescription, you'll not be able to get a specific drug, right? In India, it's pretty simple. You can go to any medical shop, you can get any kinds of medicine you require. But yeah, it's a little different outside Asia, right? You have to have the prescription in order to get a drug, right? So these Pfizer or Novartis, all these guys will have sales representatives, and they will go to these hospitals or doctors, whatever, and they'll try to explain these products, outcome, like whatever the side effects they get, or what is the outcome they're gonna get with using this drug, right? Even if it's for a common cold, they'll sell a drug and they'll say like, if you use this particular product of Novartis, you're gonna have a like better way of recovery, and they are gonna tell what are the side effects you get, like basically every detail about those products, right? So once these doctors or hospitals feel that it's okay, right? Even they provide a sample, right? If these doctors or hospitals feel it's okay, then they start proceeding and prescribing this particular drug from Novartis or Pfizer. So that's how they make their sales go up for any particular product, right? To take care of this entire system, right? That's the specific platform called Viva CRM, right? It's nothing but a managed package in Salesforce. What they do is to fit in this whatever process I explained just now, to fit in that business requirement, they would have created certain objects, relationships, they would have created certain data model and few some Apex classes and we have pages and everything, all of that. And we as a Salesforce developers use all these products and everything. We'll build everything using this Viva CRM, and we'll try to enhance our application using this Viva CRM. So in a similar way, we have Velocity, which is providing us industry specific clouds. Just give me a minute. Yeah, sorry. So Velocity is providing us industry specific clouds over here, right? So what exactly is industry specific clouds and why do we call it that, right? That's what we'll try to understand. So just the way this the process I explained now regarding these pharmaceutical companies, right, is going to be in a similar lines for each of these domains, right? Now, as the whole process I explained, right, these companies, going through all these various stages of clinical trials, producing a drug ultimately, you know, letting these customers or for customers for a pharmaceutical company are nothing but hospitals and doctors, right? So letting these customers know about their products and all the details, like including the side effects and everything, right? They get into the market by introducing these products, and these hospitals and doctors start prescribing that, right? So no matter what platform you use, ultimately the business flow is going to be the same, right? I may create an application in Java. I may create an application in using AWS. I may create an application using Salesforce. I may create an application using Cbuild, right? Ultimately, the business flow is going to be the same, right? The way we develop, the way we uh, build an application, that may differ based on the type of application we are using, but ultimately it's always going to be the business flow is always going to be the same, right? The what should happen when, that entire process is always going to be the same thing. So Velocity has identified this for specific industries. For example, telecommunications. Let's take telecom as an example here. And when Salesforce, when you want to build an application for any telecom client in Salesforce, or not just in Salesforce, basically any other platform as well, you have to understand the data model first, right? You have to understand the flow of business you have first, right? So that's what Velocities comes into picture here. And like Velocity has identified these specific industries like communications, media and entertainment, energy and utilities, insurance, health, government, and there are actually certain more industries that are being built right now. Right? So these Velocity has provided us all of these industry clouds. Industry cloud is nothing but over here, each specific industry has a different flow of business that happens in in the back end, right? So Velocity has identified this flow of business for all of these industries and creating a platform for us, and finally ultimately using that platform, we as a developers can build an application and provide it to the end customer, right? So yeah, let's consider this telecommunications example, right? For example, I mean, yeah, again here in India, it's a pretty different situation where you can go buy a SIM card in any other shop, and you can just provide your proofs and all, and you can get a SIM card. But in outside Asia, it's a little different, right? Let's say Europe or North America or Australia, it's gonna be like you have to go to this particular telecom company's website, and there you have to choose the products you would like, maybe a mobile phone or maybe a SIM card, maybe a plan, like mobile plan. You have to choose all these, and if you're an existing customer, you can log into their portal, or if you're a new customer, you give your account details and everything, and you provide certain documents for verification and all these, and you proceed on to choose these particular products and go ahead and do the payment, and ultimately this telecom company verifies everything, and it starts delivering those products to the customer, right? No matter what kind of application you're going to use, the flow of business is always going to be the same. The flow which I just explained, right? That is always going to be the same, even if you build your application in Salesforce, or even if you build an application in Java, or even if you build an application in some other cloud platform or somewhere, right? No matter what kind of application you use, ultimately the flow of business is always going to be the same. So that's what Velocity has identified here in certain industries, and they have created industry specific cloud. So which basically means whenever they say like you are this industry specific cloud, that means you will be able to download a specific managed package of Velocity, right? That means for communications or telecom, right? They have a certain package called CMT, right? Which indicates communications, media, and telecom, right? If you download that package, right, you will get a specific set of data model, objects, relationships, all these things, right? And that is called as industry specific cloud. If you download industry insurance, uh, you can say insurance managed package, insurance and health, right? You're going to get a certain different set of objects and relationships that come in as a package, right? So what Velocity has done here is it identified these kinds of domains, and it figured out, okay, in order to make sure that this business requirement fits in, they have to create certain kind of products. I mean, that they have to certain create objects and relationships. Right? For example, in a telecom company, uh, whenever you are processing your order, you have to apply certain promotions, you have to apply certain offers, you have to choose products in a different way, right? For example, if you subscribe to Tata Sky, right? If you go to their website, you would be able to subscribe an individual channel, let's say Sony 10 one, or you can buy a whole package of Sony, or you can buy specific language related packages, whatever it is, right? You can build your own package, you can subscribe to it, and that will be affected immediately in your television, right? So Velocity has identified this and created certain objects and relationships in such a way that your entire business model fits in perfectly in a software, right? So they have created this kind of structure, right? Data model, you can say, for each industry, and that's what we call as industry specific cloud in Vlocity, right? For example, telecom companies operate in a different way, right? And government related companies will are going to uh, I mean, the whole logic or everything executes in a different way, or energies and utilities like power companies, right? We have this, for example, in India, we have Southern Distribution Power Company, or there are various power companies, right? They all are going to their flow of business is going to be different, right? So Velocity has created certain objects and relations specific to each and every industry. So, for example, if you're a telecom company, if you uh, whenever you have this whenever you want to build an application in your Salesforce, right? Instead of going right from the scratch by creating the data model and everything, you can simply go and download Velocity's uh, that specific clouds, I mean that specific domains package. You can download it and you can get a license from Velocity, and you can start using building your application right away, right? So that's what we call as industry specific cloud. For each industry, there are around, as of now, some 6 or 7 different industries. Whatever you're seeing on the screen, right? Those are all specific industries provided by industry specific clouds provided by Velocity. They're actually working on increasing the count to up to 15, right? Maybe I'll show you later on what are all the clouds that are being built as well in Velocity, right? So they have identified this kind of whole business flow in Velocity. I mean, not just specific to Velocity, a business flow in each particular domain, right? And they have created a data model by creating certain objects and relationships and fields, all these things, right? So when you download a managed package of a particular industry, you'll get all of these features in hand right away, right? Usually, I mean, as a developers, we may not know this, but right, whenever a project starts right from the scratch, right, usually almost at least 6 months of time goes in the brainstorming of how the data model or product model should be, right? Even before the project development starts, at least 6 months or some 5 months will be used to determine the data model of that particular project, right? But if you use Velocity, bang on, you already have that data model, right? So you don't have to waste so much of time. The moment you just download a specific industry specific package, you already get
Mm.
objects and relationships all in this entire data model, right? So that's what we call it as industry specific clouds, and we have whatever clouds. Fine. So sorry, that was my bad. Yeah. So this is how Velocity is providing us certain industry specific clouds, and the moment you install the package, you already have the data model ready, right? You can just the moment you install this package, you can start building your application, right? So this is what we call as industry specific clouds in Velocity, right? And each different industry, each different domain you see here will have a specific set of data model, and when you install that package, we'll get all those objects and relationships, right? The best part here is Velocity uses most of the standard objects provided by Salesforce, and on top of that, they create this new objects and this entire new data model. It, for example, for a telecom companies, you know, to business flow to fit in their business flow, right? We actually use Salesforce account, contact, user, product, object, order item, order line items, assets, all these standard Salesforce objects, and on top of that, we use, they would have created certain other objects to fit in the requirement, right? So that's what we call as industry specific clouds. And whenever you download a managed package of Velocity, which is specific to a particular industry, you'll get all these data model objects and relationships in uh, uh, in the package, and you can just straight away start the development if you have a clear picture of how your data model is going to be, because you already got it. Maybe a little and few enhancements would maybe required, right? But yeah, everything else is already there, right? Fine. Let's see. I mean, there are actually more than around 250 plus clients as of now for Velocity, right? For example, CMT, like telecom, we have Verizon, we have British Telecom, Rogers Communication, Telus, M1 Telecom, T-Mobile, even Vodafone. All these started to use Velocity uh, uh, CMT vertical, right? Right, there are more than around now. The count is more than around 100, right? This is a little old slide, but yeah, there are around more than 100 clients that are using, CMT vertical of Velocity, right? And insurance and health also, there are more than around, 50, 60 plus clients, right? You have this Anthem, you have this Canada Life Insurance, Prudential, all these are using Velocity platform to build their application, right? And we have this energy and utilities. There are so many other clients, and you have this, for that matter, you even have this in this government sector. US government is using, New Zealand's government is using, Canadian government is using this particular velocities domain, you know, to build certain, like for example, in New Zealand, they are, for the children, they are using this velocity domain to provide some kind of application, right? And they are straight away using this velocities government sector. So, for example, this particular New Zealand's ministry, they don't have to bother about how their data model is going to be, because the moment you install the package, you already got a data model, right? So these are certain clients of Velocity, just to give you an overall idea, right? So right now there are more than 250 plus 250 to 300 clients, uh, or companies that are using Velocity, right? Few of them major companies would be this Verizon, British Telecom, Rogers, Vodafone, uh, uh, this Liberty, Anthem, right? Legato, Azure Insurance, all these, Prudential and all, right? They all are using Velocity, and they built applications, and we developers will be able to build a better application using Velocity. Right. Now let's see. Uh, what are the advantages of using Velocity? First of all, let's try to understand why Velocity. I mean, if it's only data model that they're giving, I don't think you have to go and spend in extra money to buy the license of Velocity, right? They actually provide you a lot more than this compared to what we get from other managed packages, right? First thing is, yeah, as I said, you'll get the industry specific data models, which are built on top of Salesforce existing data model. They just extend it, right, for the requirements. For example, for telecom, we already have this order and order item objects, which are standard Salesforce. They use these, and on top of that, they build these promotions. I mean, to accept these promotions or referral codes or certain other things, right? They build few more objects around these, and they associate it with these order and order line items, right? So basically, they will use Salesforce existing data model, Salesforce standard objects, and they build certain objects, other custom objects, which brings in that entire data model to you, right? That's one particular advantage, and yeah, the next one is I'll give you examples a little later. Then you will understand why I have added this particular second point over here. The development, trust me, you won't even believe that it becomes so fast. You can build complex business functionalities and business flows within no time if you use Velocity. I'll show you one particular example here. Mm, This particular website, M1 Telecom, which is specific Singapore-based telecom company, they are using Velocity, and whatever you see here, right from,
This is the community, right?
yep, they use communities, combination of communities and certain Velocity
Okay.
components, and they build this application,
Okay. Okay.
right? So
So, hello.
yeah.
So simply we can say that velocity is one kind of cloud, like a health cloud and um, CPQ.
Mhm.
Is it correct?
You can say that, but it actually provides you much more. For example, if we do have CPQ, which is again built on top of Salesforce, right? A CPQ
Okay.
is especially related to pricing, right?
Yes, yes,
The
yes.
way
And
you define
velocity is common for all the industry.
industries. Exactly.
Okay.
So what
Okay.
Velocity is doing, it's not just giving you that option of defining your prices. It gives you the option of right from the scratch till you deploy your project, deploy your entire system, and you actually get a website or something. That entire
Okay.
process, they provide you certain components, and they provide you certain options. You can build
Yes.
your application much faster,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
right?
And in velocity development, all the development comes like a Apex integration, or is it different?
Pretty different here. We'll talk about that. Just give me some time. I'll explain. We'll come to that part where you'll
Oh,
have get
okay,
a
okay,
better idea.
okay, okay, okay. Thank you.
Yep. So this particular company, telecom company, M1 Telecom, you can yourself just Google it, right? M1 Telecom, right? You can go to this website, and this is the particular website, right? You can see in this whole application, the entire application is built, the front end, back end, and everything using Velocity. And I was part of this project when it was getting developed. Trust me, it was like a pretty simple. I mean, I'll be honest, I used to struggle sometimes using, I mean, I was a pure classic kind of guy. I used to use Salesforce Classic so much. I had troubles in moving ahead with this lightning, right? I myself had to struggle a lot to understand this lightning and come into that, right? By the time I understood this, LWC came into the picture. Again, I have to spend certain time in understanding that, uh, you know that whole framework, and again I have to start the development. But Velocity here, it provides you. I mean, whatever you see in this screen, this entirely can be built. Maybe may not be this UI customization, right? Adding these pictures and this coloring and all. Other than that, everything else can be built in Salesforce using configuration. That's what Velocity does to you here. You may not have to write a Visual Force or Lightning component or LWC, and you don't have to write an Apex controller for that in behind. Instead, Velocity provides you certain configurable components which you can use and build this kind of application over here, right? We'll talk a little more about this going forward. Right? So yeah, basically the idea here is Velocity makes your development much faster I mean, you can build more complex functionalities in a very faster way, right? And the next thing is development. For a developer, trust me, it makes the life of a developer so easy that you can build very complex logics and functionalities using this Velocity's industry-specific clouds, right? It's like you can just configure everything like by simply dragging and dropping and adding certain I mean whatever properties are required, and entire development becomes pretty easy and pretty fast. And I myself am a developer, and I know how it is. Sometimes, in order to build if you get a requirement, sometimes we have to bang our head so much to how to build that particular thing. But if you use Velocity, you pretty much have everything there. You just drag and drop whatever is required. We'll get more idea on this particular second point and third point, right? How it is being happened. Right. Fine. And the fourth here is integrating with the other systems becomes very easy. That means, for example, whenever you build an application, it's not going to be like, okay, yeah, I build an application and everything can be used in Salesforce, right? There are going to be multiple systems that involve, right? Some may handle this billing process, some may handle about this delivery process of that particular product, and there actually are, for example, in telecom company, whenever you pick a mobile number, right, like this, right, that number has to be reserved, right, so that it will not appear for any other customer. You basically have to reserve this number with this central telecom authorities, right? In India, we have this TROI, right? Like Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, right? We have to let them know that this number has been chosen by a particular user, so that this number they won't make it available for anyone else. Right? So there would be multiple systems involved in order to get your entire application up and running. Right? It will. I'll show you a quick example later, right? In order to integrate with a particular system, uh, I think if you use a Salesforce, and if you're good with all your coding and everything, building using Apex and all, it still would take at least half a day, maybe, right, to build a API or something to invoke an API. But you can do that using Velocity in under 10 minutes. If you know Velocity, you can just like, I mean, I don't even I don't even think it will take 10 minutes. It's like you just drag and drop certain things and you add your, like whatever is required, all these properties, and that's it. You're done. So integrating with external systems becomes, very easy. I'll show you a few examples later on. Next thing is Velocity. In Velocity, all the data, right? For example, uh, if you are having a mobile application, let's say Zomato or Facebook, right? The moment you open your application, you can see the page loads for a bit and then application launches. Why? Because all of these applications follow this responsive kind of structure. That means anything that is being loaded is nothing but an API call being made to a backend system, right? You, for example, this is Visible. Visible is a subsidiary of Verizon, right? You can just search in Google for Visible, and this is that website which you get, right? So here you can see anything I click here. I mean, they are using a different front-end system, but Velocity Salesforce is the backend, right? Anything I click here, I'll show you here in the here itself right now. For example, I choose a particular product. It's nothing but an API call being made to Velocity, right? And from there, we are fetching all these details, right? So whenever we are fetching all these details and providing it to this UI, right, which could be from any other system, maybe if it is a mobile app, it has to be Android or iOS, right? If it is a web application, you can build the UI entirely in using Velocity, or you can go for some other external system like React or Blue Sky, all these, right? But ultimately, the data is that you are providing is by from an API which you would have built in your Velocity system, and which in turn provides all this required data, like what is the product name, what are the offers, and what kind of configuration you're providing, or all these additional details, right? You provide all this data through an API like this, and the front end systems use that API, the data from that API, and use that to populate all that in the data in the front end, and it looks like something like this, right? So here the data is being processed in JSON format, and that's actually an advantage because JSON is a very lightweight, faster processing data language, right? And also, even if you don't have any idea at all on JSON, if you look at a particular JSON structure, you would be able to understand what is going on there, right? For example, this is pretty much a data that is coming from velocity system, right, related to this product configuration. I'll show you just a minute. Yep. This is nothing but a JSON structure, right, which is coming out of that particular API, this particular API call that is being made to velocity system. And you can see it's, I mean, maybe now you may not understand, but you can see, right? Like, for example, it's like product name, Galaxy S21 5G. What is the ID? This. What is the price? 792. That's what you'll see in the front end over here. 792, right? What is the, if there are any promotions, if there are any insurance, all that you can see here. It's basically like you would have done this configuration or whatever it is in the backend in Velocity, and you provide all that data to this front end systems, and they will use the data to this data to display the display a proper website, right? So all that data transfer happens in JSON format here, and it is very lightweight language, and it is very fast in processing. And as a developer, if you look at any JSON structure, you'll be able to understand what is going on there just like that, right? Maybe I will discuss about this JSON format later on when we have a training session start, right, in detail, right? As of now, it's just an idea, right? So they are using JSON over here for processing of your data in a faster way, and since it is a lightweight language, obviously the processing happens pretty fast. And as a developer, you don't have to worry much, like just like how you learn Java or C or C++ or any Apex or any other any other language, right? You won't take that much time to understand JSON. I'll say it's like hardly some 20 minutes of understanding in JSON. You'll be able to decode any JSON structure. right? So these are certain advantages of using velocity, right? And yeah, let's try to get a little deeper. Velocity uh, provides you certain out-of-the-box functionalities which makes the development of a particular application which belongs to a particular industry very easily, very easy, right? Let's see how. For example, in order to build an application like this, right, you would have, first of all, you would require a product model, right? You should understand, I mean, you should define how your products are configured, what are all the, maybe promotions or offers, or maybe like, for example, if you go to Tata Sky website, right, you'll be able to see, you can choose a particular product individually. You can choose that same product in a package, right? Like for example, let me open that website itself. For example, if I go here, now it's asking for the login. Yeah, usually if I go and I know if I want to add any channel, right? You'll be able to see in Tata Sky usually, like, you can add that particular channel individually, right? Or you can buy entire package, like for example, all the star related, Star Sports 1, Star Sports 2, 3, all these things. You can buy a whole package, or you can buy a different set of package, right? So all of that is being basically configured in the backend system, right, in a different way, and you will be able to use that, right? So Velocity provides you the most dynamic uh, product configuration tool, which we call as Enterprise Product Catalog (EPC), right? As I said, right, if you go to, even for that matter, if you go to Amazon, right, and buy a mobile phone, right, they not only let me show you just a minute. For example, if I'm buying a particular mobile phone, you can buy this mobile phone alone, directly add to the cart and proceed with the payment, or yeah, they are. You can see here they're offering you a bundle, right? Along with this mobile phone, you can buy a certain product, right? So you can buy this particular what is this? Mm, maybe this wireless headset, headphones. You can buy this headphones individually, and also you can buy it using this along with this mobile, right? They may change the pricing and everything when you buy it together, right? So you can define your product model, right? How your products can be sold, right? That using Velocity's enterprise product catalog, which is called as EPC platform, right? It's a very powerful tool where you can configure all the products entirely through configuration in one single screen, right? You get a lot of variables over here, like how the product can be available, whether it's a part of a package or anything, whether it's a part of any bundle. All these things you'll be able to configure there in Velocity's EPC. Yeah, we may will discuss more of this when we actually use this. Go ahead with this training, right? To understand this EPC, but just have an idea that Velocity provides us with a most dynamic and top-notch product configuration tool, which is called as EPC, Enterprise Product Catalog. Right? You can, as per your requirement, you can configure any kinds of products, any kinds of bundle, any kind of package using Velocity EPC. Right. The next thing is, when for example, here itself, when I choose this particular mobile phone, the price is something, maybe, yeah, you can see it's around 26K. And when I choose this, Bluetooth headset, the price may be different, but when I buy them together, I should provide them offer like with a little less price, right? So here you can see the pricing structure is going to be a little more complex, right? When you buy an individual product, it'll be different. When you buy as a package, it should be different. When you buy as a bundle of products, then it should be different. All of this, right? For example, whenever you buy a headphone, mobile phone, usually uh, along with the mobile phone, they sell this uh, screen guard, back case, all of these, right? If you buy the screen guard and back case, you may have to spend another 2,000 bucks separately. But if you choose everything in a bundle, the price may be little less, maybe 500 rupees less comparatively. Right? You can define that complex pricing structure using Vlocity CPQ. Right? Again, here Vlocity CPQ is different from what you get from actual CPQ tool of which is a managed package. Right? Velocity CPQ is more of a customized version of CPQ to fit in to this velocity, right? Uh, you don't have to bother about what is happening in the backend because velocity takes care of everything related to that. They again here also they provide a one single screen, right? UI screen where you can configure all the pricing for all these products. Right? You can define complex structure of pricing here, everything in one single screen, right? Maybe if you buy a mobile case, it may cost you 10,000 rupees, and maybe if you buy a mobile phone, it may cost you 10,000 rupees. And together, when you buy these products individually, it may cost you 11K. But while buying mobile phone itself, if you add this product also as a bundle, right? Maybe it costs you maybe around 10,500, right? This kind of complex, pricing structure can be defined again using Velocity CPQ, which is again a powerful tool which you can use to define all these pricings in one single screen. Right? Again, we'll definitely see more about this Velocity CPQ when we start the training. Right? And next thing is, for example, you go to any e-commerce platform, right? Flipkart, Amazon, or Tata Sky. This is also an e-commerce platform where you can buy, any package or something, right? Or you can, for that matter, any e-commerce platform, they go through two different kinds of processes, right? From the time a customer comes into website till the time he makes the payment for a particular product, that entire process is called as order capture, right? Which basically means you're capturing the information from the customer to create an order in the backend system, right? For example, yeah, I have not signed in here. So if I choose a particular product, I'll be able to add to the cart. If I click on proceed to buy, either it will ask for a sign in or it will ask for a, if I'm a new customer, it will ask for creating your Amazon account. If I'm creating, they'll ask all my details like what is your email address, mobile phone, name, first name, last name, all these details. In the backend, when you click on save, right, they ultimately create an account or user record for you. And for that user, they'll create an order and all of this, right? So this entire process from the time any random user enters a e-commerce site and till the time he does the payment, right, and it is successful, that entire process is called as order capture. It's not specific to Velocity or it's not specific to Salesforce. It's basically that's how any e-commerce platform works, right? So in this order capture journey, they are going to capture information from the user to create an order for you, right? For example, if I'm buying a product in Amazon, they'll ask for you the like you will be able to choose the product. You'll be able to choose the specific configuration of that product. Like if I'm choosing a mobile phone, I can choose 128 GB, 256 GB, or the color or the RAM size, all these things, right? Based on that, you'll choose a particular product. And if you are a new customer, you will create your account. If you're an existing customer, you'll log in and you'll choose the delivery address. You'll proceed and you'll add by you'll add these payment details like maybe a UPI or a credit card or debit card, whatever it is. And finally, you will do the payment. So this entire process is called as order capture, and Velocity provides you certain components to build this order capture journey, and you can create an entire order capture journey just by using configuration. By simply dragging and dropping, you can create multiple UI screens, right? One such example is this M1 Telecom, right? Whatever you see here on the UI, other than this coloring or additional these images which you are seeing in the back end, right? Other than this UI rich enriching, everything else is built in Velocity. This whole website is built in Velocity just by configuration. As configuration, I mean both front end and back end, entire logics, right? The business logic in the back end, the UI logics in the front end, everything can be built and is built for this particular website using Velocity through configuration, right? Only in certain scenarios where you want to add this UI styling. For example, you see when I choose a particular number, it highlights that number and it shows this free. And earlier it will be in green color. Now it becomes background of white and orange color. So this kind of UI styling you have to use, code. But other than that, right, to making I mean, every time I load this page, basically it's an API call. We'll get this new set of mobile numbers here, right? It's basically an API call, right? All these API calls, all of this, right? All the data which you see in the front end, all of this comes from Velocity, and you don't have to use single line of code to build all this. As I said, like forget about the UI richness. For that, you have to use UI related coding. But as a developer, right, a Salesforce developer, you don't have to use single line of code to build complex applications, both front end and back end logics using Velocity. Right? We'll discuss more about what kinds of components, right, in that are being provided. Right. Next is, yeah, just like we spoke about, Velocity provides you declarative approach, to build complex business flows and complex logics, both front end and back end. Right? Next thing is Velocity provides you order management process. Right? Now again, if you buy any product in Amazon, if you do the payment, Amazon's job is not done. Right? Once you do the payment, it's their job is not done yet. Right? They have to get that product delivered to you. Right? So in order to get the particular product delivered to you, you have to maybe follow a certain specific steps, right? So from the time user makes a payment or in the backend when we submit the order till the time the product gets delivered to the customer, this whole part is called as order management, right? As I said, in any e-commerce platform, irrespective of which platform they are using to build the application, these are the two processes that happens: order capture and order management. Order capture is nothing but from the time the customer comes into your website till he buys a product, he proceeds till the payment and he makes the payment. That entire part is called order capture, and from the time the payment is successful till the time the product gets delivered to the customer, that is called as order management. It's irrespective of the platforms we use, any platform we can use. This is usually what goes in for all the e-commerce sites, right? So, yep. Vlocity provides again here the most dynamic. I will say definitely it's the best order management process right now in the market. Right? There are some specific clients or projects which are using only this order management part of Vlocity because it's that effective. Right? Again, here you don't have to use any single line of code. All of this you can achieve through configuration. And Velocity provides you two specific uh, concepts called orchestration and decomposition. Right? Using these two, processes, you can build complex order management processes. Uh, you know, like the logics and everything could be complex, but yet they're all simple for a developer. Very simple for a developer. Right? For example, if I go to a telecom company and buy a SIM card and buy a mobile plan, let's say 599 rupees mobile unlimited mobile plan in Geo, let's consider that. Right? This These are two individual products which I got from Geo, right? SIM card and mobile plan. Mobile plan cannot be activated until the SIM card is activated. Right? There is a dependency, and for a SIM card to get activated, they'll verify the documents, they'll tag that mobile number which you picked, right? The SIM card, they will have to do certain backend, a few other backend logics, and finally they have to get it dispatched. And once the customer receives it, he can activate that mobile number, and only then we should be able to activate this plan. Right? You cannot activate a plan without a SIM card, right? So you can create. There is a dependency between these two, right? So you can create those kind of complex uh, business order management logics in the backend using the orchestration and decomposition of velocity through configuration. No matter how complex your logic is, ultimately for a developer, it's pretty easy. You create certain things and define certain properties, and that's all. Right? So, and next thing is Velocity provides you this industry specific data model, which we discussed already. And Velocity also provides you two different things called digital commerce and card based APIs. Right? So these are nothing but there are certain functionalities. For example, I choose a product in Amazon, and if I want to apply a promotion, there should be a backend logic which should execute. And after applying that promotion, maybe I'll get a price reduction, or maybe I'll get another uh, product as a free gift, something like this, right? So these kind of backend logics. So what Velocity has done here is they have identified certain logics which are you can use. I mean, any company can have their own business logics, but in order to execute certain things, you have to follow the same process, right? Basically, to apply a promotion, whatever business logic you have in your client, right? Ultimately, to apply a promotion, you have to execute certain logic, right? So Velocity has identified these kind of logics, and they themselves have created code on their behalf, and you can simply call these code or Apex classes as simple APIs. right? For example, if I want to apply a promotion to a particular product, right? All I do is just Velocity already has created an Apex class. Just call that Apex class. That's it. I mean, you'll be able to get all these details in Velocity's success community website. Yeah, it's pretty much simple. You go to that website, you choose what is your requirement, you see what is your requirement, and based on that, you choose that particular API and implement it over here, right? So you don't have to use code here again in order to implement these logics because Velocity has already done that for you on your behalf. Just a second. So these are all certain tools you can say that are being provided by Velocity. And when you install a managed package, when you install this managed package of Velocity, these are all things that are going to come as part of the package. Right? You'll get for order to build order capture journey, you can use certain Velocity components, which we'll discuss now in a few minutes. Right? Without any code, you can build everything through declarative approach. You can create your complex order management process using the tools of, excuse me, yeah, yeah, using these orchestration and decomposition tools, which is again going to be configuration, right? You can create complex product structures. You can define your product catalog in a complex way, and all of that you can do in one single screen using this EPC, enterprise product catalog, right? And you can define the complex pricing structures using Velocity CPQ, right? And you get the industry specific data model when you install the package, and you can use this digital commerce and card based APIs, right? These are all the out of the box features that comes when you install the Velocity managed package, right? Trust me, using these features in your entire application, if you remember, if you know this, Salesforce used to brag about like if you use Salesforce, it's going to be 70% configuration and 30% customization. But is that ever true? Obviously, no, because once you start using Salesforce application, the clients want so much customization. You end up having 90% of customization, only 10% of configuration, where you define these permissions, profiles, roles, and all. Right? So mostly these orgs, Salesforce orgs will be so much customized that all these orgs will be so code heavy, right? There are some projects in Salesforce where they would be there from almost 10 years, more than 10 years. They keep adding the functionalities, and eventually the customization becomes so code heavy. uh, the applications will take a lot of time to load, right? So that burden is reduced on Salesforce, and whatever the Salesforce used to say like uh, 70% configuration and 30% customization, Velocity actually sticks to that. And if you install Velocity managed package, not 70%, you can build your application 94% through configuration, only maybe some 5 to 10% you have to use maybe your code, right? It actually is true. In when Once we are done with the training, no, you will yourself be able to understand why it is true, right? Most of the things can be configured by simple drag and drop functionalities provided by Velocity. Let's see. Let's dig a little deeper now, right? Velocity provides you certain components, right, which you can use to build your entire order capture journey without using single line of code, right? Let's see those tools, right? They have divided it into two different set of tools like interaction tools and data tools. Interaction tools are the nothing but the ones which you see on the UI. Data tools are nothing but the ones which execute in the backend, right? Which can help you executing in the backend logic, right? Let's see, let's start with these components and yeah, just get a brief idea on these components, right? First thing is omniscripts, right? You can build UI screens using omniscripts by simple drag and drop, right? This uh, particular page which you see here, I mean, I was part of this particular project a long time back, right? We used omniscripts to build and this UI screens over here, right? All of that can be all of this can be achieved through simple drag and drop. Just give me a second. I'll show you the sample of it. I have a prototype for this. I'll show you just a minute. Just I'm trying to show you a UI screen that was built using Velocity end to end, both the front end and back end logic. Just a minute. Yeah, this is a prototype. It's basically whatever you're seeing in this UI screen, right? Let's get your number sorted. There are two options. Either you can go for a new mobile number, and when you choose this option, you will get some mobile numbers available, and you can pick any of them, or you can go for 14 option by entering your mobile number, choosing the previous telecom operator, and yeah, basically all this, right? So this entire page is actually built on Salesforce Velocity using configuration. Right? I'll show you that example. Right. This is that thing which you're talking about. Right? This is an OmniScript. OmniScript is nothing but a interaction tool. Right? You can build in a guided path. You know for your business process using an OmniScript, right? The name itself says Omni is nothing but Omni. The meaning of Omni is guided flow, right? You can create a guided flow scripts to define your business logic and develop UI screens and mostly through drag and drop, right? So uh, as I said, OmniScript is nothing but building UI, right? These OmniScripts, you can consider them as a replacement or you can say like similar kind of tool like a visual force page or a lightning component or LWC, right? Whatever you do in these three things using code, you can do you can achieve that using omniscripts without coding, right? You can just simply achieve that entire thing, whatever you will be able to do using your Lightning components or LWC or Visual Force page, right? The same thing can be done using omniscript without using a single line of code, right? Yeah, I'll show you this example here. It almost is like a similar kind of page, what you are seeing here. Yeah, here you can see you have like this pick new number or keep new existing number, and I'll tell you the functionality behind it, and you can guess the amount of time it takes to build in Salesforce. I'll tell you how much time it took in to build this in Velocity, right? You have two options to pick a new number, or you can go for port in. If you choose this pick new number option, you'll get mobile phones. And just observe these mobile phones. Every time I refresh this page, the new set of mobile numbers will come. That's because it's basically an API call that is being made to an external system, which is fetching the mobile numbers. Right? Then you have more options. On click of that, it will show more mobile numbers. Just on it. Yeah. And you have this delivery option here. Actually, in the previous page, if you choose the zip code, automatically it fetches the delivery address information. Either you can choose it or you can go ahead with this another address thing. So this is another API call which is being made here, and this delivery date shows only the next 7 dates, and you can choose the specific timing based on the dates, right? And if you don't want a delivery, if you want to go and pick it up, you have the other option called I'm at M1 store, and you can choose all these products and all these any of these places based on the location you enter, right? You can go to any of these shops and pick it up, right? And if you choose the keep my existing number option, that means you want to port in, you enter your mobile number over here, and there's a validation that happens in the backend. It's basically another API call being made to Velocity as some external system, which says whether the mobile number you entered is a valid one or not, or if it already belongs to M1. I mean that particular telecom company, right? And you are displaying all these telecom operators, like so that this company, this customer can choose which telecom operator he used earlier. And yeah, this is the entire functionality of this page, right? If you use Salesforce, right, there are almost one, two, here it's three and four. There are four different API calls that are being made over here in this page, and there is a lot of UI functionality that is being enabled or executed over here, right? All of that, if you use Salesforce, you have to use either a Lightning component and have an Apex controller in the backend, right? For Lightning components itself, you'll have to build, this bundle, right? You have to create this, controller, helper, all these things and all. And again, you should have an Apex controller to, execute the logics. And in order to build these make these API calls, again, you have to have another set of Apex classes and all. Right? If you so it will at least take a month, maybe, or you can say 2 sprints to develop this particular page. But if you use Velocity and if you use this OmniScript tool, just like what we have done over here, right? This, I mean, we'll get into details on what is the screen, how to build an OmniScript and everything. But I'm telling, just showing it for understanding purpose. Everything here is just dragged and dropped, and we just add these properties to each of these elements. right? Everything you see here, including the backend logic. For example, once I pick a particular mobile number and give all the details here and click on next here, right? All these details basically have to get updated in my Salesforce objects, right? Mobile number has to get updated in some object. This delivery address will get delivery details, including the date and time. Everything gets stored in a different object, right? Again, if I go for excuse me, yeah. If you go for this 14 option, again there are certain logics that needs to be implemented. So including this front end and back end logics in order to implement it, you may take a lot of time in Salesforce, but if you use OmniScript, it hardly, this entire page, you can develop this, kind of structure. You can develop in very, very less time, maybe hardly a week, 3 or 4 days. You can just build an entire page, both front end and back end, if you know Velocity. Right? Everything here you see is nothing but a drag and drop components which we used. Right? We are using so many to execute backend logics. Right? We can use certain components and all. Right? Yeah. So totally, it's overall you can build these kind of web application, web pages by using OmniScript, simply dragging and dropping, basically configuration. Right? So that's what your OmniScript does over here. Right? You can create guided interaction flows, right? Or you can say set of UI screens, right? Set of UI pages, to build an entire web application or mobile application or whatever it is. Right? You can do all of that using OmniScripts without any code. Other than this UI, adding this UI richness, everything else can be dealt with OmniScripts by simple drag and drop. Other than UI richness, you can build both front end, back end, all the logics use just by simply using this OmniScript. And in the OmniScript, we can simply drag and drop the components. Right? That's one thing. And we have another thing called cards. Cards are nothing but, for example, you call in a customer care, right, for any company, let's say Vodafone. When you call a customer care, they'll verify you by asking your email address, mobile number, all these things. Once they verify, like you can ask them to do multiple things. You may call them to ask to update your alternate contact number, or you can ask them to change their mobile plan, or you can ask them to unsubscribe a particular add-on or subscribe a particular add-on, all these things. So these cards again is another powerful tool provided by Velocity, with which you can build a single screen where you can display 360-degree view of a customer. Right? The moment any customer calls into a customer care agent of a particular company, they should be able to see a basic idea of what that customer is. Right? If it is a telecom company, you should be able to see his account details. What are the previous orders he made? What are the what plans or mobile phones that are active with him, right? What are the other options? Basically, all of that in one single screen, and you should be able to have those buttons, right? If they want to update a contact number, or if they want to update a or maybe if they want the bill of this particular month, and yeah, basically so many other requirements, right? So everything can be built in one single screen using cards. And again, it's mostly configuration, except for adding that UI, right? The richness, everything else is going to be the configuration, right? This is one example of that cards which I'm speaking, right? So this is a card, Velocity card, specifically built for a telecom client, right? So in this, you'll be able to see the account details, you'll be able to see the latest orders he made, you'll be able to see the current active handset he's having, right? You'll be able to see the product, mobile plans which he has, right? You'll be able to see, certain filters, all these things. You can see there are buttons that are added, like downloading bill, managing payments, right? Renewing certain thing, all these things, right? So all of this can be built using velocity cards like something called flexi card has come up newly, right? You can build all of these things using velocity in one single screen, right? So yeah, our velocity here is providing us again another powerful tool called cards, which can be used to display 360-degree view of a customer. Right? This is another example of insurance client. Like you'll be able to see all the active policies, all the claims you made, all the various options like any discounts or any all these things like paying a premium, all these things in one single screen, right? And
So, Dilip, sorry to interrupt, Tushar
yeah,
this side.
yeah,
So, like as you said that for the UI richness, so do we need to write a separate CSS for that, for the color and all those things?
right. Yeah, I was actually coming to that point.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the next component which is being provided by Velocity is called templates. This is the place where you can add this UI richness to any specific component, right? You templates lets you uh, do the Angular JavaScript code, or you can add CSS, or you can add some HTML coding, right? You can add some JavaScript code, Angular JavaScript code, right? So these templates is the component or the place where you will try to add that UI richness. It lets you uh, add CSS code, or it lets you add HTML code, or it lets you add Angular JavaScript code, or it lets you do all these three things together and build, a template so that you'll add that UI richness to the component. Why these templates come into the picture is basically, for example, anything you build in Salesforce is going to come in this standard light blue and white color, right? Even if you go to lightning, still it is going to be ultimately this light blue and white color, right? So they follow that specific thing. Even for that matter, Facebook, right? Anything you see in Facebook is going to come in blue theme, okay? But there will be some applications you come across in Facebook, like they say which Marvel character you look like, or which Hollywood hero you look like. All these, this kind of applications, right? They are built on in Salesforce, but sorry, they are built in Facebook's platform. Facebook comes in this blue theme, but these applications, these extra applications, they'll have their own color themes. How they do it is basically they apply something called templates. You can add UI richness to your uh, components, right? You interaction tools by adding the velocity templates, and it requires Angular JavaScript, you know, knowledge, and most probably it's going to be like if you are in a velocity project, uh, definitely none of the clients are going to accept a simple UI, right? Because that's not how it is. They want a complex UI so that any customer comes in, they should be attracted to the UI first, right? That's their main goal, right? So definitely all these clients would require complex UI, and for that, uh, as a Salesforce developer, we'll not be able to do anything much, but mostly the projects will have this UI UX teams who can handle this part, right? You build the UI screens using OmniScript. You build this entire structure. You define from where this data is coming, how you should display. But this coloring and everything, just leave that to this UI UX teams who can use these templates, right? And for that matter, if you go, I mean, for example, Vodafone, they have a website, but they also have a mobile application, right? We, as a Salesforce developer, can never build a Android or iOS application, right? They should have a UI team for that, right? Similarly, most probably you may have these UI UX teams in your project. So I would say we don't bother much about these templates, right? For example, I'll show you one specific template to give you a brief idea, right? In a template, you can build as HTML like this, or you can build a CSS, or you can add JavaScript, Angular JavaScript code. And this template can be used in OmniScripts and other Velocity provided components to add the UI richness, right? So as I said, like, I mean, I won't say that it's for sure, but most probably all the projects will try to hire a have a UI UX team, because trust me, I mean, you as a developer, you must be knowing this. None of the clients are going to accept simple UI. They want complex UI structures, right? So, like, as a Salesforce this developer, you will not be able to do much over there. So that's where this UI UX teams come into picture, and they can start using these templates to add that Angular JavaScript code to enrich your UI, right? If you remember, I said like 90% of the application can be built through configuration, and maybe 5 or 10% you have to use code. This is one place where you have to use Angular JavaScript code. And as a Salesforce or Velocity developer, we don't have to bother much about it, but we just should at least let the UI team know how to build it or where to exactly use this, all of this, right? I think we are taking more time. Let me quickly cover these data tools as well to give you a brief idea, right? So these data tools are nothing but you want to like, let's say sorry, let's say you want to build just give me a second. Yeah, sorry for that. Yeah, you can, for example, this page, right? I mean, this any website for that matter. Well, like, let's go to Amazon or Tata Sky, whatever it is, right? You are you need backend logics to be implemented, right? So how do you implement these backend logics using Salesforce? I mean, using, if you're in Salesforce, you should use Apex controller, right? I mean, if you want to query something, or if you want to update some data, or if you want to execute some logics, all of this can be done using these uh, Apex classes, usually when you build in Salesforce. But when it comes to Velocity, we get a replacement for all of these things, right? And we call them as data tools, right? And what exactly these are is nothing but uh, for example, data after extract is used to extract some information from Salesforce, right? It's basically a replacement of your SOQL query. You can build an SOQL query through configuration. And yeah, I mean, data after is again another powerful tool which not just deals with one single object. You can execute logics with multiple, I mean, you can execute queries with on multiple objects actually, right? So when we discuss more about that, we'll try to understand more about it. Data after load is nothing but it executes all the DML statements of in your Apex code, right? Whatever the DML statements you use in your Apex code, instead of that, you can simply use something called data after load, which is again a configuration to define from where the data is coming and to which Salesforce object field you have to update or insert or something. You just add this data after and it does the part. It does its job. You don't have to write any code there again, right? And maybe a transform, data after transform, we'll talk about it when we start the lectures, classes. Again, this integration procedure is actually I would say this is one of the best tool among all the other components provided by Vlocity, because whatever your Apex class does, right? Most, I would say like 95 to 99% of the logics which you can build through Apex class can be built using integration procedures just by configuration, plain configuration, right? You can just create an integration procedure in Vlocity and you can execute all the logics that you can implement using your Apex class. Whatever you do there, you can do all of that using integration procedure through configuration. Literally, like you want to add an if loop, you want to add a for loop, you want to delete something based on a condition, you want to update some data based on some query, you do that everything using integration procedure with through configuration.
Hello, sorry
Yeah.
to disturb you.
Yeah.
But for that we have to create a Apex class, or it is inbuilt?
It's an inbuilt. That's what. It's actually a tool provided by Vlocity. Just a
Okay.
minute, I'll show you.
Means we don't require to create any Apex class or any server side.
Nothing. No.
Okay, okay, okay.
Right.
Okay.
For example, as I said, we'll use OmniScript as a replacement of LC or LWC or Visual Force page. It's in Vlocity. It's nothing but a tab. Right. Go here into the tab, click on New, and start building your configurable UI page. Or when I said data raptor, like extract or load or transform, go to this tab and create this component by simple drag and drop. Again, this integration procedure, maybe let me show you one. Again, this is going to look pretty much, this is going to be pretty much configuration, right? Yeah, Raghu, you can ask your question.
Dilip, I'm actually working as an integration engineer as of now, and I usually work with API calls and we process the data in JSON. So is that something similar what we are doing here as well?
Exactly.
I know
Yes.
this is a drag and drop, it's kind of a ETL tool, but will that be helpful?
Yeah, pretty much, because I'll show you one quick example. We are fetching these mobile numbers right here in this page. It's nothing but an API call. All you have to do in Vlocity is uh, pretty simple. I mean, you will get a tool where you can define what is the endpoint, what are the parameters you have to pass. Right? This is
Yeah.
that particular thing.
We will be teaching through API calls, but usually the customers will provide the endpoints, API endpoints, and probably will have the username and password, right?
Right.
So, so when you're teaching, are we going to teach with the real-time example where we'll be working on the endpoints, or you'll be teaching on the scenario based where we'll not be using endpoints?
We will work in a. Let me get back to that point in a little bit of time, right? Once I'm done with this integration process, I'll tell you what we are going to do in our training, especially.
Okay, Dilip. I'll ask my question later.
Yeah, sure. Right? Yeah, this is pretty much an integration procedure here. You can drag and drop the components, and you can configure them in a way you want to execute it, right? So whatever the logics you are building through Apex controller, right? Apex class, no need to use single line of code. You can just create an integration procedure and execute all those logics here itself by simply dragging and dropping. Like for example, in Salesforce, we have this try catch, right? You don't do that. You don't have to create any code here. Just drag and drop this try catch block, add all the components over here in this try catch block. It works similar to what you do, what you have done in Salesforce. Like you write your try, then after all the code, you'll write your catch block and all. And if there is any exception, it handles there. Pretty much same thing. You can do it by configuration. Right? You want to apply a for loop, drag and drop a loop block, define your list here, and define what should be the output. That's all. Right? So most of the places wherever you use, you want to build Apex controller like this backend complex logics, right? You can simply use integration procedures to develop that in Vlocity. Right? All these tools which I'm talking about, they would mostly be like tabs provided by Vlocity for you to develop. You don't have to go and create any VF page, or you don't have to go and create any Apex class. Just go to these individual tabs and start working on that. Right? And a few of the examples I can see is, for example, through mobile app, if I go to Vodafone and if I subscribe to some add-on, or if I want to unsubscribe an add-on, or let's say I have an add-on called Caller Tune and I want to change the song in that add-on, right? You want to execute that logics in the backend, right? Not just in Vlocity, you may have to make an API calls, multiple API calls to let the external systems also know what is that user doing, right? You do that pretty much everything in integration procedure. No need to use single line of code. Right? So yeah, these are certain Vlocity components provided by uh, Vlocity, which you can use to avoid any code, and instead you can achieve all that logic through simple configuration. Right? And yeah, that is pretty much about Vlocity, right? How and what all things you can do. And remember this, I mean, note down this particular slide, right? This is pretty much important because usually if go to CPQ, or if you go to Tableau, or if you go to any other Salesforce managed packages, they're concentrated on one specific part, right? For example, CPQs revolves everything around the pricing, right? So, but Vlocity provides you multiple other things, not just this pricing, or not just one specific part. Vlocity provides you all these things, right? So, coming back to Raghu's question here, so uh, we are going to discuss about, I mean, as part of our training, we'll try to understand how to create an entire order capture journey, right? Using Vlocity components through configuration. We'll try to understand this order management process, and we'll create some and see how it goes. We'll try to create, we'll understand EPC, CPQ, digital commerce, card-based APIs, and this data models as well. And as part of our training, we'll try to learn all these things. And what I mean, I'll follow a different kind of approach where we just don't go simply here into integration procedure and explain each and every component and leave it. What we will do here is, in as part of our training, we'll cover all the use cases, right? Most of the use cases, and like let's work with a very simple requirements. Like let's say uh, a requirement where like get customer details and display it on the UI, right? And we keep extending it as we go ahead, and we'll try to invoke certain APIs. We'll try to you know build certain UI screens. We can display certain data to the user based on certain conditions. All these things will practically try to create a mini sized application in this training. where we'll try to basically whatever these velocity components can do, we'll try to understand there. Yep. Raghu, Lakshmikant, you can ask your questions.
Yeah. Hi, Dilip. Lakshmikant here. So I just wanted to understand, okay, if someone is from a non-coding background, so how easy it would be, to learn the velocity? I know, like you did mention that mostly it's just configuration, drag and drop.
Right.
So let's assume that, okay, but I don't have any coding background, or I do have knowledge about Salesforce platform a bit.
Right.
So yeah, will it be easy, or how it will be?
Let me put it in this way. If you have basic knowledge of what is Salesforce, right? You should be understanding what does objects mean, what are the relationships. Like you don't need to know coding, you should have that knowledge on what is SOQL query. You don't have to write it, but if you know what SOQL query does, or know what an Apex class does, then we have a replacement or remedy for that in Vlocity through configuration. You should be aware of the concept so that we can try to achieve that in Vlocity through configuration.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, like the integration procedures, right? So there probably, I mean, we need to have a lot more complex understanding, or just you have the knowledge and.
That's what exactly you should have the basic idea of. Like, for example, if I get a requirement, let's say I in the front end, whenever I choose a particular product in Amazon, right, I should be able to create an order in the backend and update all the order line items. Let's say that is our requirement, right? You when you understand what you have to do there, you will simply be able to. No need to go into Apex class and create. You can come to integration procedure and create your own logic here itself in the integration procedure. I would say you don't have to have any coding knowledge, but you should be able to understand the requirement properly. You should know that knowledge of applying how to use these components basically.
Okay, understood. So in the initial slides, you did mention that there are 5 or 6 Vlocity industry clouds. Right. So as part of this training, will you be explaining all the clouds, or you'll be concentrating on this particular clouds?
Mostly industry clouds come into picture when we talk about data models, but everything else, like all these components, these interaction tools and data tools, irrespective of which cloud you are in, these are all same for all the clouds.
Okay, so you'll be just explaining a basic about the data models. I mean, at a high level, and then.
What I will say is, I am more of a telecom guy, so we will definitely cover more details from telecom, but definitely, I'll give you an idea on other industry clouds.
Okay, so just understand that. Okay, I mean, at the end of this training, okay, I mean, we have touched upon some of the basics, telecom cloud related features, and along with the basic features of the important features that the Vlocity out of the box it supports. So will it be easy for an user to understand about the other industry clouds as well?
It's going to be pretty much easy, because most of the components that we get used from Vlocity are same across the industries. There is no different in that. Only the difference comes with the data model. That's all. So understanding the data model, like once you know what Vlocity is doing, it's going to be pretty much easy to understand other industries as well.
Okay. And also you mentioned that Vlocity at the backend just handles everything at the JSON level. So we don't need to explore with XML or anything.
Yeah, mostly no, and we will try to cover. I mean, as part of our training, we'll even definitely discuss about JSON, how to understand it, what exactly is JSON, and everything.
Okay. Yeah. So thanks a lot, Dilip. You have been a very good explainer.
Dilip, one question is that I'm working, as I told you, like I'm working as a Java integration, like making REST and SOAP calls, like using get, post methods and everything. So is this will be that useful in the same method we will be using in Vlocity as well?
Yep. I would say yeah, one thing. I'll quickly show you a quick example. Basically, this visible, they're not using
Yeah.
Velocity frontend. They're using some
Okay.
other Blue Sky or React JS or something. Basically, the
Okay.
front end is a some other system. But as you see,
Okay.
the backend is nothing basically coming from Velocity, right? And that is an
Okay.
API, and we are exposing
Okay.
Salesforce data through API, and
Okay.
we use integration procedure to do that.
But Dilip, the API calls the customer will need the username and password, but will be using some dummy API to make calls, or in order for you to explain us.
What we'll do is we have these public APIs like weather APIs and all, right? We'll try to
Yeah.
invoke those APIs, and
Okay.
for when we expose the API, right? Usually, like you have to build your logic and everything, and you expose the API, and some other system has to invoke, right? We'll use Postman to do that.
Okay. 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 So I'm using Postman. So Dilip, will my knowledge be useful over here? Like whatever integration I'm doing as of now?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you can build an API. Usually, we build an API. We build APIs in Apex classes, but you can build API in integration procedure, and you can invoke through Postman. Very basic knowledge
Oh,
of Postman will also help. And yeah,
okay.
I'll definitely tell you how to use
Dilip,
Postman for
then
this.
for example, after the course finishes, like, will you tell how should we display that we had worked on velocity? Can we tell and apply for a job? Just because, I mean, I just wanted to know how can we explain the projects we have done on velocity and get a job in velocity.
Sure. I will what at the end of the training, right? Maybe
Yeah.
at the start it may be too confusing. At the end of the
Yeah.
training, I'll give you 2 or 3 different kinds of architectures that are being actually implemented in certain projects, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'll let you know those, so you can add that in your resume, saying that you have worked on something. Then you can definitely get the job. And
Okay.
trust me,
Okay.
it's not even about adding a project. I'll tell you one thing clearly. Velocity now is such a trending technology. You add velocity term in your resume, and your resume gets picked automatically. Like at a point of time in my career itself, I uploaded it in Naukri, and I used to switch off my mobile because it used to be so irritating, because I used to get 15 to 20
Okay.
calls every day for job opportunities.
Dilip, is this Salesforce Omni Studio developer what we have to do? Because I see the names being changed. So, any clue on what is the certification that is required for this?
Yeah, I'll give you the certification guide also. Like
Okay.
you can use that to see. I mean, if you were if you want to get a job in using this velocity, then
Yeah.
velocity platform developer is the certification you have to go ahead with. I'll definitely, yeah,
Okay.
there are certain levels, unlike Salesforce, there are pretty specific standard certifications based on your level of understanding. I'll provide you that details.
Okay, Dilip. But it's not going to be difficult using API calls, because I see I'm using API calls, but the customer will not provide us the username, credentials, and everything, right?
Yeah.
Where we use different scenarios. Are you explaining like X509 where we use certifications for login and all that stuff?
Yeah. I mean, we'll usually have authorization in a different way. Like some may want client ID, client secret, all these. Some may want
Yeah.
username,
Yeah.
password. Yeah, we'll try to cover that. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hello,
Yeah.
Dilip.
Does this require any knowledge on CPQ and LWC?
CPQ, I would say definitely no, because we are going to cover that. I mean, Velocity CPQ is a customized version of CPQ. We'll definitely cover that part. So no need to worry about CPQ. But LWC, it's entirely different. So nowadays, if you remember, when we talked about those templates, we are actually using Angular JavaScript. So Velocity wants to do away with that, and they started implementing LWC very recently instead of Angular JavaScript. Yeah, we'll try to cover the basic understanding of how to use LWC, but we cannot cover LWC in this training.
Okay, so like, are we using LWC inside the Vlocity?
It's not yet stabilized as of now, but yeah, we will be going ahead. Angular JavaScript will be depreciated, and LWC will come into picture.
Okay, okay, fine. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi.
We will get Velocity developer org for the practice, right?
Yeah.
So for which industry we will get that org?
Yeah, that's one thing I want to tell. As part of our training, we'll give you access to, unlike what we have in Salesforce, where success community is pretty much open, right? Open source. You can try to Google it and you'll be able to get the answers. But not that's not the case for Velocity. It's more of a closed source. But we'll give the credentials to access success community of Velocity. We'll give the access to a developer org, and there is something called Velocity University where you can learn something about Velocity. Yeah, it's documentation is going to be too heavy because you may not understand, but yeah, still we'll provide that access as well. And in the training org, as I said, mostly it won't matter which domain we are using, because to learn Velocity, except data model, everything else is going to be the same across all the industries.
Yes, I think basic concepts are same for all the industry
Yes.
specific, right?
Right.
So just we need to understand the basic concepts. Means
Exactly.
like OmniScript and data model and all that things.
All that. Exactly. Yes. So they are common for all the industries. When we say industry specific cloud, it's just that data model. I mean, as I said, like usually any project that starts right from the scratch, before the developer comes into the picture, a lot of architects are going to decide on how the data model is going to be. Right?
Okay.
So that will come by default when you install the Velocity package. So that's one little difference. Otherwise, Velocity is going to be same across the industry, all industries. Only that data model is going to be different, and will cover the data model of insurance and telecom, and especially telecom. We are going to. I mean, I am more of a telecom expert, and we'll try to cover more in telecom, and I'll also give you details how the data model is from insurance, and yeah, everything else is going to be same across the industries.
Yeah, hi Dilip. So actually, this question is not related to training. This is a personal suggestion. So right now I'm working as a senior Salesforce developer. So I worked on many things, Lightning, Apex, integration, and all those stuff. So how beneficial it will be for me, to moving to Vlocity, because after that, I won't be able to work obviously on Aura, Lightning, and all those stuff.
Yeah.
So how beneficial it will be for me?
If since I'm also a developer, I will give you my perspective. It's like Velocity is now. I mean, it was 5 years back. It was pretty much. I mean, nobody even heard about Velocity. It was just a startup kind of thing. They started building everything, and now it has grown so much. Now Salesforce has acquired Velocity, and Salesforce business has drastically increased from the time they acquired Velocity, because so many, I mean, around more than 100 clients of telecom operators are, moving to either moving or already there in Velocity, right? So the business has increased so much, and Velocity is now part of Salesforce. And definitely one thing is their velocity is going to grow, and it will never be like it'll be good for a few years and it'll go away. It's not going to be that case. Velocity is going to be separate, individual technology, and it is going to go strong. And if you already know, if you already are an expert of Salesforce, and if you are looking for a better opportunity, right, as a developer, maybe I'll be honest, like obviously we all look for money and whichever gives you that better package. For the same guy
Yeah,
who has
a better work life, because as a developer, you have to
Mhm.
stretch your timings and you have to sit long, till late
Right,
night to
right,
make that code
yeah,
available.
yeah, yeah. So it's like one thing I can clearly say is, for example, if you have 5 years of experience in Salesforce, you may, let's just, it's a hypothetical situation. You may, let's say, you may get around 12 lakhs package or 15 lakhs package, right? Outside, if you clear the interview. But if you clear the interview for Vlocity, for the same amount of experience, you can go up to 20, 22, like that. Because uh, Vlocity, there is the scope as of now is very good. Uh, I would say at least for next 2 years, and don't stretch beyond that. Next 2 years, you will get lots of opportunities in Vlocity, and you can move, to different. If you want to switch and all, this is going to for sure help.
Okay, so let's say in the interview, if you will say that we do have all the knowledge on Vlocity, but we don't have real-time experience yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, they will be considering that, or they will just considering that who has like worked on any project in real time,
You
like
can
that.
actually, it's definitely they are going to go, look for a guy who has hands-on experience. So what we'll do is whenever we are covering with the, whenever we are, start with, sorry, whenever we start with our training, we will consider the real-time scenarios. I will explain you as much as possible. Like I'll use these two especially because M1 Telecom and Visible. Visible is, yeah, as you know, it's Verizon's subsidiary. So as we go ahead, I'll try to explain the real-time scenarios that happen here. And in interview, maybe you can add some project. Yeah, you can add some project saying that you worked in Vlocity, maybe for at least 1 or 2 months, and that will be really helpful.
Dilip, based on these two projects, will you give us like what questions can we expect from the interviewer?
Yeah, yeah, that is for sure. I'm going to cover around which areas you'll get more questions, and I'll try to give you those pre-handed. I'll just give you a document or something. You can look or concentrate in that area, especially to get a better idea. And I know maybe you will be able to clear interviews.
Okay, so Dilip, what will be the timings for this training and how long it will be?
Right now, yeah, let's decide on the timings. Maybe as we go ahead, it will definitely be 1 hour session each day, and we will do it for at least we need 30 hours of training.
So each day includes Saturday, Sunday as well, or only the weekdays?
We'll have it on weekdays.
Okay.
Yeah, it will be. It will come approximately for 5 weeks, excluding the weekends.
Okay.
So you'll be taking the training end to end, right?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Okay.
So timing is not decided yet, or what?
Yeah, it's not yet decided because based on the people will decide on the timing, which will be better suited. But yeah, we'll definitely have it sometime in the morning in between, 7:30 or and 9:30. And if some people like maybe they have this, they would be in US or basically somewhere else. So if they have a requirement, maybe in the night we'll have around 8:30 to 10:30 in between those timings. Depends. Let's see based on the people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm looking for US clients, so we used to have a call, till 9:30,
Yes.
sometimes 9:30 or 10, and morning also we used to, log in by 10:30.
Mm-hmm.
So I think morning time will be great if you can.
Yeah. Kishore will communicate with you regarding the timings and like the amount and everything. But yeah, apart from that, we'll have 30. We'll definitely have this training for at least 5 weeks, excluding the weekend.
Okay, so is it going to start from tomorrow or from next week?
Most probably from next week, coming week, or yeah, let's see. We'll try to start sometime around this week, or if it's not possible, then yeah, definitely next Monday.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much, Dilip.
Yep. If you have any questions, you can ask me.
So, Dilip, with respect to the certification, will you be providing assistance as well, like what needs to be covered?
One thing is, once we are done with this training, most probably you will be able to clear the certification. But yeah, I'll provide you like a certain, as you know, like Salesforce has dumps. I'll try to provide that mostly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Dilip sir, good morning. Niranjan is here.
Okay.
Please tell me the Salesforce administration because I am from system administration background. So I'm working as a company system administrator. So please tell me how it is Salesforce administrator or Salesforce admin. For that, some please give me some information on that. Salesforce administrator or something that. Can you understand?
Are you saying that
I'm working as a system administrator?
Okay.
I'm working as a system administrator in a company. So how beneficial for me for admin work? Salesforce administrator, or how it is profile?
If you are a system, Salesforce admin, you can move. You can go ahead in your career as a developer if you start using Vlocity.
No. I don't want to developer. Please tell me in system admin only. Oh, cloud. It is Salesforce cloud or something in cloud. Can I do the cloud course, Amazon cloud or AWS administrator? Your suggestion is what for that? Please guide me.
I would say, yeah. If you are using Vlocity, it will be more beneficial if you are an architect or developer. Admin, it's going to be pretty much like whatever we have in Salesforce. That is all. That will be there because Vlocity is nothing but a managed package in Salesforce. So whatever we already do in Salesforce, that will already be that should be there. Like having these profiles or roles, sharing rules, permission sets. That everything is going to exist. On top of that, we'll have Vlocity. That's all. So yeah, as a developer or an architect, you will have a bright future if you have, if you know Vlocity.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks. Any other questions? Maybe our time. You can ask any questions. Okay. If you. Yeah.
Hello, Dilip sir.
Yeah. Please.
Out of Marketing Cloud and Vlocity, which is the trending technology in Salesforce, and which is the most beneficial for developer?
Without a doubt, it's going to be Vlocity because there is so much. There is actually a lot of scope in Vlocity. If you are into a project which is telecom or insurance, like you have so much scope here, and you have, as a developer, you can do a lot more stuff here in Vlocity. And the one better part of Vlocity is even I am a developer, but if you want to go ahead in your career on the technical side, right? You more than the technology, you should have the domain knowledge. That's what I can tell clearly, right? if you want to become an architect, irrespective of what technology you are in, you should have that domain knowledge, and
Yes.
you will get that domain knowledge definitely when you start using Vlocity.
Okay.
Yeah. Like
Dilip, you have decided regarding any timings, like when you'll start? Is it gonna be like you have multiple timings where you teach in the morning and the evening as well?
we can do that. Yeah. Like I mean, you note down this number and email address which you see on the screen. You can contact. I mean, he's Kishore. His name is Kishore. You can contact this guy. He will give you more details about that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Fine then. Let's close it for now, and you can talk to Kishore on when it starts. I mean, let's decide on that. He will let you know when it starts and what is going to be the timings and everything, all those details. Right? Kishore will communicate with you. Just get in touch with him. We'll start as soon as possible, and yep, let's have a great training.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dilip, for the
Thank you, Dilip. Thanks a lot.
session.
Yep, thank you, Lakshmikant.
Thank you, Dilip.
Thanks to all Dilip sir. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.